You are listening to Core, a show on Code Zero Radio that plays bands located in the Fox Cities. A show to find and discover new music. Hosted by Andy McNamara.
Hello everybody, welcome to Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. If this is your first time tuning in to WCZR, we are an independent streaming rock station based out of the Appleton, Wisconsin area. Lots of great stuff on the station. You should check out our website at live.codezeroradio.com. This show that we're doing now is a live show, so if you've got a question for the band, feel free to call in, get your pencil out, and write this number down, 920-358-0795. So moving on to my guests. Adamah is a new project based out of Appleton, Wisconsin. It's made up of members of past bands like the Wildbirds, Vindicated, and Number One Fan. You might have seen them recently opening shows for My One and Only and Tae the Neighborly. My Town is the name of their latest single. I'd like to welcome Adamah to Fox Cities Core. How are you guys doing today?
Great. It's Adamah.
Adamah?
Adamah,
Yeah.
like Adam.
That's embarrassing.
That's okay. There's no phonetic, there's no phonetic parenthetical comment.
So let's start right off there. When you're thinking of a band name, like, okay, Adamah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense now that I'm saying it. But when you're thinking of coming up with a band name, what kind of process did you guys go through to come to consensus on Adamah?
I mean, you can't be the Beatles, can't be the Rolling Stones, so you kind of have to just come up with other names. I mean, I think it's just how you come up with a band name is kicking it around. There's some concept or something that's floating around there, and you want to pick a band name. I don't think there's a lot of people that like their band name. I'm not sure if we like our band name.
We actually did contemplate changing it at one point because there's a Swedish hardcore band called Adamah as well. And we were like, are we going to get hit with a cease and desist? And we were like, nah, we're fine.
I think we're okay. We're not crossing
okay.
in the same realm as Swedish hardcore.
Yeah.
So did you guys Google that stuff when you were trying to think of what to name the band? Or obviously you found the Swedish band after you decided?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of the band name, like Adamah means dirt. And so there's just, I really like the concept of, some life being breathed into something that is dust or dirt or something, physical, something spiritual going through something that's physical. So like this concept of Adamah is pretty, like that concept to me is a pretty big deal. Like I love that concept. I want to try to have that be something that happens, in my life and in this band where something more is going on behind the music. So
Yeah.
It does sound like a new metal band, though, doesn't it?
and we're really into new metal.
Yeah. Super.
So let's go down the line and get your names so the viewers
Oh, yeah.
kind of know who, if we're using names later, they know who everybody is.
Yeah, I'm Ben. I play guitar in the band.
I'm Jonathan. I sing, play drums, and bring snacks to band practice.
It's true.
He's the soccer mom of the band.
That's right.
We get orange slices after the game.
That's one of my rules.
I'm Simon, and I play bass.
Sweetie, you got a thing on your chin.
Thanks. Thank you. What was it?
I don't know.
Oh,
Skin.
some fuzz.
So you guys have played it in projects before, different levels, and did you guys was that something you guys started doing at an early age, or was that something started later in your teens?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing guitar since I was like 14, but I've only been good this past year. So, yeah, I started playing, and I've been in like a couple bands. Like when I was in high school, I was in a folk cover band, and then I was in like a little bit of a punk rock band called Teenage Moms a few years ago. But yeah, these guys have more interesting stories than I do.
Now, I didn't know you were in a folk cover band. Did you know that?
Yeah, we were called Caleb and the Carrots, and I was the front man. My name's not Caleb.
Were people shouting Caleb to you? Did people call you Caleb?
No, Caleb was the guitar player, and
okay.
it's because I wanted to be called Carrots and Heroin because I thought it was really funny. Because carrots are supposed to be good for your eyesight, and heroin is not.
Oh man! Oh, why are we Adamah? Dumb.
I didn't know we had those as options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so Jonathan,
Yes, and
you had quite an experience with Number One Fan, and then that morphed into the Wildbirds.
I did.
How did you get involved? Like with Number One Fan, that started in it was a high school band, right? That's how it
was
started.
high school. Yeah, the real story is that we met in youth group at church, and we joined the youth group band together, and that's how we started playing. And then there was this youth group talent show, and their drummer couldn't make it, and they asked me if I'd play drums for them, and so we played BB Mac, Until You're Back Here, Baby, I think is what the song is called. And then the song in Billy Madison, Billy Passed the Third Grade. And we won the church talent show, like dominated the church talent show. And it was...
That sucks.
I mean,
Is that true?
Is that true? Did that really happen?
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
So, and then we started hanging out and playing together, and then their drummer left, and Number One Fan was already kind of happening. And then I think when I joined the band, it was, let's do this. Let's be serious about this. Let's be, let's tighten up the pants a little bit and play some indie rock.
And then that band morphed into
Or emo. As
Emo,
one
yeah.
As one would call it.
emo back then. I think was short for emotional.
Right.
You guys recorded at Smart Studios in Madison at one point.
Yeah.
Do you remember who your engineer was?
Justin Perkins.
Justin Perkins.
The Justin Perkins. You know Justin Perkins?
Justin Perkins is a god.
Really?
Not the god, a god. He's a Wisconsin legend, as you know.
Yeah.
He's the owner of Mystery Room Mastering and Recording, and
Is that in Milwaukee or is that in Madison?
I think it's in Madison now.
Okay.
But he engineered your project at Smart Studios.
Yeah,
And as you know, he's got a great ear.
he does.
So you did the one recording at Smart, and then that led to you getting signed or re-signed before that on Pat's.
We were signed before that. So we signed to Pat's record company. We did. How we met Justin was, what was the name of that studio that Eric
Smart.
was it?
Oh, Simple
No.
Studios in
Yeah,
Green Bay?
simple. Yeah.
In Green Bay. Yeah. So we met Eric. He was the producer. Do you know Eric?
Eric was in
Eric Thielen.
Boris the Sprinkler.
Yes.
Yep.
Sweet. And so he was one of the Erics in the band, and he was an amazing producer and really helped Number One Fan kind of craft our sound, and took a lot of time. And then Justin Perkins engineered it. So that was 2003 or 2004 that we did that with Eric and Justin, and then we kept working with Justin as time went on. But that first album with Number One Fan, that's what got us signed to Pat's record company. So Pat's record company bought that album. They were like, yeah, we'll just repress it. And then we went to Madison to do, I think we were recording a second album that didn't come out until way later of Number One Fan music. But that's what we did in Madison, yeah.
Was that a did the response to that album snowball pretty quickly? And how was it to deal with that kind of all of a sudden attention on you?
With the second album? How it worked was we did the first Number One Fan album, and then we went into the studio, or we toured for a couple years. And that's where we just hit the road really hard, and so it was like 2.5 years of just kind of going for it. And then when we started writing more music and all of that, and we got off the road and it was time to do another album, it was things, we didn't like it at all. We didn't like the second album. We didn't like the music. We started to listen to different music. We were like, this is not great. We recorded a whole album, and then it was just like, it's kind of sucked. And we're like, none of us are interested in this. And so what we did is we became a whole different band with the same guys, and the Wildbirds. So and that was like by listening to different music and trying to find our sound and trying to discover who we were, we just went completely an opposite direction of where we came from.
Was there
who we were.
Was there a lot of pushback from people that you were working with at the time to kind of stay in that, band that you guys had already done 2 albums for, and that I'm sure people were sort of banking on, continuing? Was there pressure and pushback to kind of stick with the emo genre and just kind of continue on that path? Was that hard?
Right off into the sunset of 2012 when that genre ended. Wait, is it still happening?
Oh, it's still happening, buddy.
Oh, okay. But a little bit. I think our friends were like, Simon, I think Simon can speak to this. At the time, it's like, you guys are douchebags. Like, that's what it was, where it's like, you guys met in youth group. You're freaking youth group kids. Like, you grew up in church. You met in a church band.
Like, you have no street cred.
Yeah, like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is like that's the furthest thing from, I think, where we came from. And so to do that, I think that was the biggest pushback. The biggest pushback was like from our friends going, "Are you seriously acting like this? Like cowboy boots and and
Bandanas and
yeah."
So they practiced, especially when they were writing the second album. They practiced in my garage, well, my mom's garage, but that's a good name for a band. My mom's garage.
Changing it. We're changing our name now.
So they wrote the second number one fan album mostly there. And to me, like, out of all the music that group of guys did together, that was hands down my favorite, because to me that was the most them. So I don't know if you still think it just totally sucks, but that was my favorite album. I still like it and I still listen to it. But yeah, when they became the Wildbirds, it was like, you guys are really trying to be somebody you're not.
Yeah.
And it sucked. Like they were really good at it. They were really good at trying to imitate something, but for me it felt like an imitation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was just kind of like, what is cool became. Have you ever seen the movie Almost Famous?
It's been a long time. I don't remember much.
Everything is about like the difference between being real and being cool. There's this huge dichotomy in the movie about where the mom is actually the most real character in the whole movie, and she's like a college professor, and she speaks her mind, and then everyone else is just in the rock and roll realm is just trying to put on this facade of like, we're just cool. We're just so carefree. We don't even think about it. It just, all this just amazing music, just happens out of nowhere. And it's just like, oh, you're so full of yourself, And that dichotomy of that, the main character is the kid choosing between those two worlds of who he wants to be. Does he want to be real? Does he want to be honest and unmerciful? Like, I will recommend that movie to anyone, where it's like, it's a pretty decent view of like what's going on with people that are trying to portray themselves as these really deep rock stars, and then behind the scenes they're going, Andy, just make us look cool. Okay, can you just edit this?
Right.
Can you just edit this interview so that we look cool and people will like us and all of that? Like, that's really what's going on behind the scenes. So I think a lot of it became that, where if you're not going to dig deeper into yourself as a person, if you're not going to discover who you are, then you have to kind of change your clothes, you have to change your hairstyle, you have to change your music if you're a musician, you have to change all of these external things in order to feel like you're a different person. Meanwhile, it was like I became more and more and more insecure, more and more like, more emo. But I just buried it down of just like Mr. Carefree rock and roll. But that was a lot of what was going on, yeah.
We had a comment in here from Justin Keel. He said that the Wildbirds were the Robins first.
Well said, Justin Keel. That's awesome. Hey, Justin. We were the Robins, and we had to change our band name because the movie Pulp Fiction had a song from this band in the 1950s called the Robins. So we didn't get into some legal trouble, but we looked it up and we couldn't be the Robins.
And the Wildbirds were born.
And the Wildbirds, that's right.
And I don't want
It's a
to.
good title though. It's a good name.
It's an awesome band name. What do
So
you say?
yeah, I was just gonna say the reason I felt like it was forcing something was, like you said, these guys met in church. They were a church youth group band to start with, and I feel like it's like the homeschool kid thing that happens where you have so many limitations growing up that we can do whatever we want.
good.
We're adults, and you just swing way too hard the other way. I feel like that happened for a little bit, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's what it was.
We ate ice cream for dinner, just constant. It was just, there was so much ice cream, Andy. We were just covered in it. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't safe.
Healthy, man.
The Wildbirds did. I mean, they had success. You guys had some songs that were on, I think, NFL when Brett Favre threw.
421st touchdown.
Yeah, that was the song 421, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
And I was a fan of the Wildbirds. Like guys.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
I guess like depending on what kind of type of music you like. I mean,
Yeah.
I was number one fan. It was definitely on my radar. I didn't listen to them a whole lot, but when the Wildbirds came out, I mean, that was right up my alley.
Yeah.
But if it's something you're not feeling, and it, like Simon kind of said, you're sort of forcing something. But I mean, the songs still stand up in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I think that the music was good. Like, I think a lot of us grew up listening to rock and roll. I think a lot of us were really into that music. I mean, that's what happens is we started listening to, Jimmy Eat World and Dashboard Confessional and all of that, and you keep digging and digging and digging, and you find the source of where a lot of that music came from, and now you're listening to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and, Tom Petty, et cetera, and you're going like, oh, I want to make music like this. And I think that's a natural process for people to want to get down to like kind of those rock and roll until eventually all of us are listening to the blues, in someone's basement, playing vinyl records and going, this is it.
Yeah.
No, this is the music.
Man, he's got you swinging.
Yeah. Exactly. Till we're in a smoky room in someone's basement. Someone's offering you drugs. Not Andy. But, but I think that's what happens. So, but it's the whole persona. Like, just be yourself. Be yourself. You can play whatever music you want. One of the thoughts that I've had is, I think it would have been interesting to be number one fan and change the sound completely. Like, one of the bands I love so much is Arcade Fire. I love Arcade Fire, and every album they put out is like, this is a new band. Like, I always see their albums as like, these are individual bands.
Just different iterations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're kind of discovering themselves. They're discovering their music. And I like that. Where it's like, or even someone like Ed Sheeran who releases his latest album and it's like super poppy and everyone goes, can we swear on this show?
If you want, but maybe bleep it out just for
Okay.
our younger listeners.
Bleep Ed Sheeran, but and that's where a lot of people, will say, like, when an artist releases a new album, they're like, oh, this is so different. It's such a departure. It sucks. But I think that there's a lot of beauty in that, and I think that artists should be able to do that and be able to become a new and interesting musician, I think, as time goes on.
Yeah.
I don't want to like spend the whole show talking about, the Wildbirds and number one fan, but
Why not?
but
Why not, Andy?
Come on, man.
but the hard question. So what ultimately caused the demise of that period of the Wildbirds?
Me. No,
A gun.
It's assignment answer.
man, we were in Sudbury, Ontario, in a blue shuttle bus that we converted to run on vegetable oil, used fryer grease. And it was one of the saddest, most miserable times in my life. And I think in like just being confronted by the fact of this is where this path has led us to. This is where we're ending up, or me, I'll just speak personally, where I'm like, we have no money, we're broke, we're in a shuttle bus. It's in northern Canada or, wherever. And it was just miserable.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into music in a lot of ways, not just because I love music, but because I want to be in a band. Like, being in a band is freaking spectacular. Being in a band is so much fun with a group of guys that you have a purpose and you get to hang out with and play music and create stuff with. I think that's why a lot of us are like, yeah, you could just play. Why don't you just be a solo project? Why don't you be a solo artist? Why don't you go and gig around at all these things? I think people go, no, I want to be in a band.
Yeah.
Like that. It's this brotherhood. Well, I stopped feeling that, and I felt more and more and more and more disconnected, more and more like a 15, 16-year-old who's just massively insecure and not knowing what to do. And I was just like, I was ready to start over. Mm-hmm. And I did not want to, let's change the band name, change the music. I didn't want, and I could see that coming. I'm like, maybe we should be a techno band. And I could just like feel this like feeling of like, uh-oh, we're going to do this again. And it's going to be worse. We already did the change the thing. We already did all change the clothes and style. It didn't work. Mm-hmm. So it was just eventually I think it I kind of feel responsible because I was like, I'm done. I had no more energy to give, and I moved back in with my parents. They were living in Illinois at the time, and then just basically said, see you later. We kind of had two more shows. We had one show in Aspen, Colorado at the X Games, and I was done. Just, skiing in the Rockies for free in this amazing chalet, getting put up, playing at the X Games was just like, I want to go home. And that's when it was like, okay, yeah, this is done.
It's a pretty serious
Existential crisis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Illinois, your parents are in Illinois. They're in Woodstock.
They were in Woodstock.
How do you know that?
Did you check? did you check out the Groundhog's Day sites there?
That's Andy. How did you know this? How did you know the Woodstock, Illinois?
It's my job.
Dude, good for you.
Are his parents safe right now?
Oh man, nice.
Did
good
you-
for you.
did you
Yeah,
recreate
that's
it?
where I worked I worked in Groundhog's Day. No, I worked in the Woodstock Square at the Starbucks when everything fell apart. So, where Punxsutawney Phil has his big moment in that. What do you call it?
Gazebo?
The gazebo, thank you.
You said chalet earlier, which I always said shallot, so I felt kind of.
Oh, I
Well-
can cook with a shallot.
Yeah.
It's like a
It's like a sweeter onion.
yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, team.
Yeah, you're definitely going to cook that until it's about a little translucent.
No, on the side, we actually were here to talk about the cookbook that we have. Coming out.
Cooking with
It's
Adamah.
it's called Cooking with Adamah.
Cooking with dirt.
Cooking with dirt.
So Woodstock, and you were born in Canada.
That's right.
Okay, so why did your parents move down to
It
Midwest?
was expensive. My dad's American, my mom's Canadian, so it was really difficult, I think, to live there. Taxes were really high, and I think my parents were struggling financially, and I think my dad, wanted to move closer to kind of his parental figures, like his uncle and aunt, and so that's when we made the trip across the border.
How old were you at that point?
I was about 12.
Was the culture pretty similar as far as, I don't know, social culture the same? Canada, I've been to once.
Yeah. Canada's, in my opinion, is kind of like a cool cross between the States and Europe. Like it's in that place. So there you have the like the sarcasticness of Europe, but you also have the politeness. So, I didn't grow up saying what when someone asks you a question. You'd say, "Pardon me." It was much more proper, I think, in Canada, and people were a lot more polite. And coming to the States and Wisconsin was kind of a major culture shock for me, because if you grow up hearing your name Jonathan and then you move somewhere and everyone starts calling you Janathan, you're like, is that me? Am I Janathan? But yeah, moving to a small school and a smaller school from Canada and experiencing that, yeah, dude, that sent me in a tizzy. That was a lot. A lot of my life is from that move from Canada to Wisconsin dictated a lot of my life and the decisions that I have made, and kind of having that safety net in a sense being removed, that familiarity. And I think there's kids that handle moving really well, and it's really exciting for certain kids. Not for me, Andy.
Yeah, Jonathan, we're gonna give you a break. We don't want you to overheat, so we're gonna move on to Simon for just a little bit here.
I'm loving it. Any other questions? You want to talk about my dad? You want to talk about my parents? Anyway,
I'll field all questions about your dad.
Simon, you're in a band called Vindicated.
You want me to follow this?
Well,
Vindicated. Yeah, it was it was a Christian metal band, so it was the same thing. A bunch of youth group kids. They had a drummer, so I played drums in that band, and they had a drummer, and I really wanted to be in a band, so I slowly became friends with the guys, and they had some issues with their drummer, and so I slowly pushed him out, like a good Christian kid does, manipulates his way into a situation. Someone else's expense. And so I did that.
I'll show you the passages later. Go ahead and put those verses on the screen, Andy.
Call the blinking number at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, so I did that, and they were like, that was when, like, I don't think the three of us have been like part of the music scene in quite a long time, but there was like a handful of venues that, would pack out, like when Jonathan and I were high school age and stuff like that. Like a lot of kids would go out to shows, and maybe that still happens, I don't know. But with Vindicated, that was it. We got like a cool following around here, and then we got serious enough about it after we were all out of high school that we did some like short, not touring, but like, gone for 5-6 days, doing festivals and playing with other metal bands. And then Tooth and Nail It's just like it was like a big alternative record company for Christian stuff.
MXPX
like
was
pseudo
on.
Christian stuff. Oh, MXPX.
MXPX was on Tooth and Nail.
Yeah, and anyway, so we started talking with them after we recorded an EP at Simple Studios, and Justin did all the engineering again, and then so that got some traction and stuff. So we did well in that world. We did really well with it. And then I started playing, like it was the same thing. My musical taste just changed, and like I liked metal. Just I learned it just so I could be in a band. I had to learn my double kick pedal really quick, and like, but then I kind of did the same thing. I started hanging out around like Corey Chisel, going to his shows, and I befriended a bunch of those guys, and then I on and off would play drums for Corey for like 2 years. And Jonathan did the same thing. He would sit on stuff when Jonathan was home from tours. But that was fun. That was really cool because I actually really liked the music. And so yeah, so that was kind of it, Vindicated and playing with Corey.
Do you guys still talk to Corey? Or have you talked about doing anything maybe at the Refuge? I don't know if the Refuge is really...
I'm not sure if it is anymore. If we run into him, I think it's been a couple years since I hung out with him, or it's been a few years since I hung out with him. But you ran into him a couple years ago, right? At a bar.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was Mile of Music.
Oh, yeah. So
That makes sense.
But yeah, no, I don't think
Yeah.
none of us are like close with him or stay in touch with him really anymore.
Yeah.
Never met him.
Can you put in a good word for us?
I'm not friends with Corey.
All right.
So Simon and Jonathan, both drummers. Then with this project, Simon's moving to bass. So
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, so is there ever a situation where Jonathan's playing something and you're sort of over his shoulder saying, hey, what are you doing? You should try this. Or
No. He was no. It's a
Yeah.
good
Why don't
question,
you do
but
that?
Because you're way better than I ever was.
I feel like Jonathan was fishing there with that comment.
I know. I was actually trying to do the opposite. But it did. It sounded like fishing. Yeah. Okay. Forever on the internet. Awesome.
Yeah, I was just. I would say I was good. Like when I was playing drums a ton, I was good. But I was never like a great drummer. Like if I didn't have a click, the end of the song would be a very different tempo than the start of the song and stuff like that. So, and Jonathan just lays it down, and I could never do that. Not the way he does it anyway. Yeah. But then a year ago, Jonathan was like, I want to get a band going, and I like you guys. Simon, you're a drummer and you play guitar, and so I know you can play bass. So I've only been playing bass a year now. We've been practicing like 10 months,
Yeah.
so I had to pick it up pretty quick.
Here's the thing about Simon playing bass that is exciting to me, is that being a drummer, being a guitar player, is like, I had this idea. I mean, Ben and I kind of, we were scheming together about Simon playing bass, so. But
Why am I finding out about this on a radio show?
because we're actually talking.
Talk.
Why don't we talk anymore? Why don't we talk? We don't ever talk, guys. I say this. I bring a snack, and I want to sit down, and I want to have a conversation. Okay? And I want to look at each other.
I
I'm
asked how
sorry
your
for
day
yelling.
was, and I
I'm
just-
sorry for
I
yelling.
just get good.
I'm sorry. I was upset. Let me just take a beat. No, I'm just kidding. But Ben and I were kind of scheming this of like, let's get Simon to play bass.
Yeah.
And we both had this feeling of like, Simon can kill it. We feel like he could kill it on bass.
For sure.
Like rhythmically, he's really smart. Like what Simon plays is incredibly tasteful, and he's got a great sense of rhythm and a great ear, and he will like never play too much. It's like we're trying to help him, play more and practice more. And I realize it's been a long time.
Wait, what's been? Oh, yeah.
It hasn't been a long time.
Tasteful is another way of saying I don't have the abilities to play more than I already.
But okay, so
Really nice way of saying it. Yeah.
right, and I did want to say that without saying it. No, but so Simon rhythmically, melodically is just like he's set up to be, I believe, a very prolific bassist.
Yeah.
I think if he continues, where it's like you got it or you don't have it. I think Simon's got it. Not that he's got like not
Thank
that.
you.
You guys have played. You said you were practicing for 10 months before the first show.
Mm-hmm.
During that 10 months, were you working on writing original material? Were you kind of bouncing around some old ideas or playing some cover songs? How did you guys sort of start getting this band started?
Well, all of the songs are Jonathan's songs. He wrote all of them, and some of them are older ones that him and I have been playing for like a really long time. And he just reworked some lyrics for them because we're worship leaders at a church called Music of Life Church
We
Appleton.
weren't
Shouts
going
out.
to talk about that.
And he took some of those songs and he made them secular. We started with those, and then he just like showed up one day and he was just like, I wrote a pop song, and we were like, cool. And we've just been playing a bunch of those now. So we got like 8 or 9 songs right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
So is My Town the only one that is recorded at this point?
We got another one that's recorded, but I have not worked on it at all. So
Yeah, Ben did all the engineering and
it's not great, but
right, but yeah, so he did all of that for My Town and then another song, but we were like, we need to get good and play more. Like we wanted to play more shows versus kind of getting more stuff recorded.
How was the experience playing your first show at the tap room and then up at the lyric room? Was there any nerves since you've been removed from doing that for a while, or was it something that just effortlessly got back into?
So pretty much I'm always a nervous wreck beforehand. Thank you. I'm pretty much always a nervous wreck beforehand, but as soon as we start playing it, the nerves go away from me and I start having fun. Yeah, that's how it works for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I got lucky because you know Taylor Greenwood, right, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Taylor.
Shouts out.
Yeah, shout out to Taylor Greenwood. Oh my gosh, he's our hero.
Yeah.
He's currently our hero.
Yeah.
And his smile is like, can brighten up.
He's infectious.
Yeah.
It can make you, if you're having a bad day, his smile will just cheer you right up.
Yeah.
Man,
So
how about that, Taylor?
anything we've done has pretty much been through Taylor so far.
Yeah.
He believes in us and he wants to help us as much as he can. So it's been really cool. I work with Taylor. I'm a brewer at Stone Arch. So that's how we got to know Taylor, and that's how we got the gig, the first one at the tap room at Stone Arch. So it felt like home to me. So it wasn't real nerve-wracking. There's a little bit, but it felt like home turf. So it wasn't. But then the lyric room was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I feel like all this has happened so naturally and
Effortless.
organically, and we haven't been trying to make anything happen that we don't have a ton of expectations.
Yeah.
We're not, and so it's just like, yeah, let's just go have fun. And I know people say that, but this is the first time I've legitimately felt like this is just fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps when you like the other people in your band.
Yeah. These are two of my closest friends. So
Yeah. I think the first show. You ever been to a dance recital, Andy?
I don't but I think so.
Yeah, where little kids wear sparkly outfits. And you sort of like,
No, I've never been to one of those.
okay, so
wait,
you
what
go,
have you been to?
what kind of dance recitals? What kind of hotel is this? But you go to a dance recital and there's all these kids in sparkly outfits and they, do that and all the parents go, oh, that's so cute. But there's nothing really inspiring about it.
Yeah.
You're not like, oh my God, that kid's going to be an amazing dancer one day. You're like, oh, they're politely clapping. I think I was nervous that our fans, like our friends, really, we don't have fans. We have friends. As soon as I said fans, I was like, oh God. No, our friends and family that were at the show, that very first show after we opened with My Town, when we played after that first song, what I felt from everyone's clapping was not a dance recital clap of like, good job, we're so proud of you for just doing what you want to do, guys. Like, good for you. Because I think we've all been to that show where you're like, oh yeah, man, you guys in your band, you guys do what you do. You went up there and you were tight. You did your thing. Like, you guys look like you're having a lot of fun, And it's not like, I really like this band. Well, our friends and our family, I think, were relieved. That's what I felt from that clap of like, everyone's like, oh, thank God. Like,
You guys don't suck.
You don't suck. Like, not only can I support you, but I like this band.
Yeah.
And after that first song was over, it was just like, this is gonna be so much fun. And I think it became like this celebration of our friends and the community that we have together, going like, we're actually creating something that our friends and our family can love and get behind and not only support but also really enjoy. And the first show was just, that was a dream. Mm-hmm. That was a dream to experience that and to not have the dance recital clap, but the real clap. And so I said, after the first song, I was like, we did it, like, and when I mean we did it, I don't mean the three of us did it. I mean us as a community, our friends, like, something good is coming out of this community that I think will reach and impact and help and enjoy. Other people will enjoy. So yeah,
that was getting the rust knocked off and getting up to the Green Bay and playing in front of people up there. Is there a place in Appleton that you have your eyes on that you think would be a great place to play?
Yeah,
I like Chadwick's.
Chadwick's.
I played Chadwick's.
They have bands?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I played there once. It was nice.
And then how do you feel about you mentioned, I think Simon mentioned when you were playing a while back, kids would come out more, teenagers and that kind of thing. Do you think Appleton is in desperate need of an all-age venue? Do you think it would be something that would even take off?
Did you shake your head?
No, no, not
yeah,
at all.
I think so. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just totally out of touch. But like Blue Moon Coffee, when it was in Menasha, maybe it's still there. But when it was in that building on the corner, we would, Jonathan's band, our band, it would be so packed in there. The windows would just be full of steam.
Awesome.
That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That was so much fun. And then, like, I think the Monkey Wrench. Did you ever?
Yeah, that was a kind of a short-lived
Yeah,
venue in the
sure.
old
In the
mall.
Valley Fair Mall, right?
Yeah, Brian something did that. I forgot the guy's last name, but that was really cool. It was cool to have somewhere to go when you're not 21. It was really cool to have. So I don't know if that's the reason it doesn't seem to be a ton of younger bands. But yeah, I think we could absolutely benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've made it to the segment Band Reaction, where we play a segment from a previous guest, and then we get your reaction.
Oh, jeez.
We did it. We made it, Andy.
This one is from a band called Brother Oh Brother. They were on a couple years ago,
I like
2.5
these
years
guys.
ago. So we'll play the clip and we'll see what you think.
Band reaction. Band reaction.
How do you guys do the set list for your show?
We don't. That one's a real easy one to answer. We don't.
We have a set list probably like 3 shows a year.
So occasionally we'll have to do these things that for a normal band would not be a big deal, I guess. We're like, the gigs where they'll pay you a bunch of money, but they want you to play for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's fine if you've got like a big, a big repertoire of music or you want to play a bunch of covers, you can do that, but that's when we have to write a set list because we do have a bunch of songs. We've been doing this for a while. We've got a ton of songs. We could definitely fill 3 hours if we needed to. The problem is we have to, like, first of all, remember all of them and, like, know how to play them. So we, like, make a list of, like, all right, these are the songs we know we could definitely play. And then from that, we try to build, like, a set list. And we'll take, like, a break between sets or whatever. But those are the only times we really write a set list. Or if we're playing, like, you know, like, we played here last night, didn't write a set list for that, but we're playing again tonight in the same town, then you're like, okay, we need to write a set list so we don't, like, play just accidentally the same set or whatever. So, in those occasions we do, but really we don't. And that's the beauty of a two-piece is Chris can be like, hey, I'm going to play this song, or he'll just start playing a song, and I'll be like, all right, well, I guess that's what we're doing. There's been, I could count on one hand the number of times where he started to play something or I've started to play something and the other one has been like, we're not doing that. That's not going to happen today. Like,
yeah, because we're like,
I don't know if I could do it. Like, it's never like, oh, I don't want to play that song. It's like, I don't know if I remember that right now.
And there's been times we earlier on would write some set lists, but like I always like am just looking at like kind of how the crowd was responding to certain stuff, and so like pretty quickly we discover like, well, having these set lists is pretty pointless because like if we feel like we need to change it, we're just always going to change it.
Yep.
And Warner at first,
I hated it. It would make like
he did like I
don't know if I was like nervous or what, but I needed the structure for whatever reason.
It was
to,
a
like,
different
okay,
time in
I
your
need
life.
to know what we're playing, and he would either not have one or like the worst would be he'd like have one, give me a copy of it, and he would completely go off off base with it, like not even follow it at all. And that would drive me so crazy that at one point I was like, "Don't even give me a set list. If you're gonna do that."
And once we talked about it, it made more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, "Look, it's because I was like, there'd be times of like, all right, this crowd is dead. Like,
Yeah,
they're dead.
And you're like, we need a faster song.
We need
here
a faster
or whatever.
song, or like one of us needs to go into the crowd and go do something. Like, and so we're gonna go just do this now. And now, like, we wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh yeah, now it's the best. I love playing with no set list.
What do you guys think of that?
So I'm a big fan of those guys. Those guys rule. Like they're super fun to watch, and yeah, I think it's cool. Like, I mean, I don't care. I like having a set list because I am a nervous wreck without one. I don't want to keep shouting over to Jonathan, "What's the next song?" But those guys are really talented. So I mean, if they don't need a set list, that's great. Good for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that theme song on Spotify? Can I download that? That's a banger.
Yeah.
Like, man, you must have really spent a lot of time putting that together, Andy.
He just told us it was 5 minutes.
Oh!
5 minutes is a lot of time.
Are you serious? We just talked about this.
So set lists, I mean, something,
Yeah.
I guess, down the line when you guys are doing like different sets, different places, do you use set lists so far in the band, or you just call them out as you go along?
We do.
Set list.
Do set lists?
Yeah.
For sure.
In our 2.5 show history, we are like all about the set list. We don't have much material.
Yeah. Well, I think all three of us, when we listen to music, we like to listen to albums. So we're really into like the vibe of an album. And so when Jonathan is creating a set list, he's like, what's the vibe of the set list? Which songs go well together? How are we going to structure this to like make the flow of the music match this vibe?
I'm glad you brought that up, Ben, because you guys, is the end goal an album, or are you going to do the EP or like just drip out singles for a while?
I think it's like I think we're gonna see where it goes, dude. Because we could be done tomorrow.
Seriously.
But no, I think we're gonna try to record a couple songs, and if an EP comes out, an EP comes out. If an album comes out, an album comes out. If it's just another single, but I think what Simon said earlier is that we have really low expectations of what's gonna happen. Yeah.
It helps us be happier when things happen because we didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything in the works right now for any shows coming up?
Yeah.
We do. We have a show on is it the 5th or the 3rd?
Third.
I think the third.
The 3rd. It's Bazaar After Dark
Oh, cool. Where's
in New London. And we're playing, I think we got the opening slot, 5 p.m.
Not bragging.
Definitely not here to brag, but like New London, look out because we are the greatest. Not bragging.
have you enjoyed the shows you've played so far, like with Tae the Neighborly, and just like getting to kind of meet other bands and kind of talk? I feel that would be probably one of the fun things about getting back into shows again.
Well, Andy, this is our best context.
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily playing music that we're the best at. Like, we're way better at this.
We're way better at hanging
or
out.
maybe we enjoyed this.
Hanging out.
Hanging out at like a whole different level than playing music. But, so it's great to meet you in this context when we feel like we're at our best. But hanging out and talking to bands is spectacular. It's
kind of why we got into this.
yeah, because it was like, who are the two other people that could just talk about music all the time?
Yeah.
And that I like to hang out with. It's like, hey, you want to be in a band?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, 12-year-old version of Simon? You want to start a band with me?
Simon's
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't follow that. 12-year-old?
Like
call
young.
me 12?
Like it,
Oh,
it-
and
it-
like 12 years ago?
yeah, well, it's like the young mentality of like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, you want to come over?
You wanna be
like
friends?
knock on my door and
Sleep over?
Yeah, exactly. You want to be in a band?
You want
Like,
to Taco Bell?
exactly.
We spend like an hour and a half hanging out before we even play music. We just like eat chips and like
Snacks.
snacks.
snacks are important.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. I completely agree.
Jonathan, you've got a great podcast called What the Flock.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did that get started? What's the podcast about? How can people find it?
That's awesome. The podcast is called What the Flock, and it's a podcast for people. We talk about topics that have caused a lot of damage. So much damage that people don't come to church anymore. So Simon and I knew each other from a long time ago, but that's where Ben and us we met in church and we got to know each other in church. And I would say that there's more people that are just burnt out on church and they used to go to church, they used to want to be a part of that, and they do not want to have anything to do with church anymore. And so a lot of us, like us here, like have a ton of really bad feelings from the history that we've had in the church. But we are fortunate to be in a community that kind of helped us repair that. So instead of going like, it's God's fault or it's, the
pastor's fault.
Yeah, the pastor's fault or all of that. Like we go, okay, let's focus on what we can do to help people heal from that and learn from that and become more than from when that break happened. Because I think a lot of us came into church for a lot of the same reasons why people start bands. It's like, I want a community. I want to discover my purpose. I want to feel like I belong. I feel like there's something going on that's beyond what I can see. And so this podcast, I think a lot of us start there. We get into a system that causes a lot of damage and a lot of abuse. And then we don't want to be in that. And a lot of those topics that we cover we've seen cause a lot of damage to the point where people are like, I don't want to go to church anymore. So my incredible, amazing friend who I was an associate pastor with at a church, and him and I have known each other, Joel Swakowski is kind of my sidekick in the show where I host it, and then we tackle these topics, and he kind of brings us through and teaches people like, here's the answer, and what he does is he'll give the answer that we kind of always felt like we wanted, like we always believed that was out there, and he helps give that answer, and I believe an answer that brings a lot of healing. So we cover a lot of subjects that are pretty sensitive, and Joel kind of walks through, hey, here's this side of the argument, here's that side of the argument, here's how I would handle conversations with this side and that side of the argument. And here's an answer that's neither side. Here's an answer that helped us. And essentially here's the answer that helped us heal. Here's the answer that we felt like we needed and we got it. And so we want to give that answer. Yeah. So it's
Find it on YouTube.
Yeah. So it's on Transistor. What the Flock. I think whattheflock.transistor.
And people can watch it because you transitioned over to video.
We have some the interviews that we've done between the series. We have some videos of that, but those aren't necessarily like episodes. So the episodes are all like podcast style, no video.
Yeah.
I'd suggest people check it out. I just started scratching the surface on the episodes, and I'm really enjoying it. I look
Thank
forward
you.
to continuing to check those out. I want to talk about Music of Life Church as well. It's every Sunday. You guys meet at Copper Rock.
That's right. Yeah, in the gallery.
5:30. If people are interested in seeing what that's all about, maybe they listen to What the Flock and they want to check out Music of Life Church. They just show up. Do they need a reserve or do anything like that?
Not at all. Yeah, just show up, please. That'd be awesome.
Well, it's the same thing where it's like we feel like we have this awesome community, the people that came to our first show, all of our friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the reason the three of us like to hang out so much. And we just want other people to experience that. So the first hour of church is it's literally just to hang out. Let's talk about our weeks. Let's get all the distractions out of our way so that we can turn the focus on whatever we're talking about that night.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the stuff Jonathan talks about on What the Flock. That's a lot of what we do.
Yep.
So you're pulling a lot of ideas for shows for What the Flock from these Sunday sessions, I'm guessing, or
The opposite.
the opposite.
Yeah, Joel and I and our producer, we kick around these ideas and we put together a series. And from that series, we're like, okay, one of the things that Music of Life Church Appleton wants to do is help people with their church damage and help people who've been hurt by church. And it's like, well, that's what the Flock is doing. What the Flock is helping people with that. So it's like, why don't we just jank the topics?
Yeah.
And I could just talk about that. And it works. I mean, it's fantastic. And I think there's a lot more storytelling at Music of Life Church Appleton. Like Simon and I both will preach, and there's a lot of these heavy topics we share about our experience going through it and kind of what happened in our lives leading up to that topic. And
Yeah, it's a lot more like it's indirect, so it's not directly teaching about something. It's let's talk about this concept. This is how this has affected me, and this is what ended up helping me with it. So that's where we try to bring that healing.
yeah, so there's before I was involved with Music of Life Church and that community, Simon was one of the people who, I had known for all these years. And musicians, as I'm sure you know, are, notoriously depressed and anxious and narcissistic and et cetera, Not that we are.
What does narcissistic mean?
And Simon was there and just became healthy and was healing. And it was like to see his life before and then after it was unbelievable. So he just has an incredible story of what that looks like, and it impacted me, and it kind of drew me, as when I was off the road, to start to dig and start to look for some answers myself. And so that's all we're trying to do. We want to help people, kind of experience the life that I think we've had, where it's wonderful to sleep. It's wonderful to sleep. It's wonderful to be excited and to
Not
be happy.
burdened by your own thoughts.
Yeah, man. It is. It's like, I think that's what the life that we live is pretty beautiful, and we just want other people to have that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting us know about that. And again, if people are interested in finding out more, just stop by the Copper Rock at 5:30 on Sunday.
That's right.
Um,
Thanks for asking.
My pleasure. Right at the end of the show, let's talk about My Town quick. That song, Ben, you mentioned all the songs are written by Jonathan. Can you tell us a little bit about My Town? What inspired the lyrics to the song, and how did the song kind of come together? What made you decide to record that song first and put it out there?
Simon and Ben made me. They made me do it.
They made me do it.
They made me do it. I didn't want to, but they're like, you have to do this. No. We recorded it because it's our best song. Honestly, it's how I feel about the town that we live in. The first time when I wrote the song, it was during Mile of Music, and I played it for Simon upstairs in the gallery. And so him and I was sitting there with the guitar, and it was just Simon and I played him this song while we were watching people like walk by in Mile of Music, like upstairs, and it was this really special moment. And I think it's really kind of opening up and being real about how I feel about this town and my experience with a lot of people here. I think a lot of the desire to care for people and the people that are hurting people, and it makes me very, very upset. And I think that came from a place of being frustrated and being honest about this is what I'm seeing. There's a lot of friends that we had that we grew up with that are absolutely incredible people that we love, and the turn in their lives is just so sad. And it's really painful to watch. It's painful to see them not be able to sleep and running around and miserable, whatever. So, and I think a lot of that came from how we were brought up and our experiences. And a lot of our friends had the same experiences we did, but we're not in the same position as they are. So I think My Town came from that place of just like, and Ben and Simon have really, like, they've been super encouraging to just be honest and sing about what you know.
He got done. He played it for me upstairs that night. He got done, and I was like, "You need to get more angry more often because this is the best song you've written."
Yeah, and Simon was like, "Where did this come from?" I was like, "Anger."
It's a great track, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have coming up. And you said it was June 3rd, Bazaar After Dark in New London.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in catching Adamah live, go check him out June 3rd at Bazaar After Dark in New London. Thank you for joining us on Fox City's Core.
Dude, this is a blast.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks,
Thank
Andy.
you.
Great job.